Welcome back, everybody. The History Guy here, and this is episode 4, playing as the nation of France in the Great War mod for Hearts of Iron 4. This is the first post-war episode. If you did not see the first 3 episodes, which include everything up through March of 1919, beginning in 1910, then you can click on the link in the description below. That'll take you all the way through. You can see how the war went and how we got to where we are now, which is the post-war world of 1919. So first and foremost, got to clean things up, got to recall my armies and get them home. I've assigned most of them to garrison duty, at least for now, till I figure out what I want to do. We've started inviting nations to our faction, and that includes Italy thus far. Let's go ahead and take a look, actually, at the faction map mode. And you can see the Entente as it exists now. That's Portugal, Ireland, Britain, basically the UK, France, which controls a lot of territory, as well as Italy. I guess that's Serbia there. And beyond that, it's really just that we control most of, China's a part of things, British Raj. I control large portions of the desert in Africa now. I'm not sure how long I'm going to hang on to that. Looks like we can also invite the Mexican opposition. So we'll go ahead and invite them to join as well. I don't know if there's anybody else right now we can invite to join, but I certainly got to get things built back up. We've got free military factories available that we're going to use to kind of work our way through all of what we need to reproduce to kind of restock the army. And you can see I've got 138 military factories. That is just an insane amount of military factories. A lot of them, though, need to be repaired, and that's certainly going to take some time to get that done. So that's going to be kind of one of the post-war jobs now, is to do all of this repair work to all of these factories. And it's going to take some time because there's a lot of damage from what happened during the war. In addition to that, I've got to recall folks home that are overseas or that are in other territories that are no longer under my control. Looks like we're going to need to trade for some chromium. I guess we can probably easily get that from Spain. So let's go ahead and do that. And that gets me all up to speed on everything I need as far as trade goes. I don't think we need to be trading for all of this oil right now from the U.S. because I don't have armies in the field that I need to be doing anything with. Now, we can get to research. Really far behind on some of this stuff, so we're going to get caught up on things like medicine and industry. A lot of things that we need to get research up to snuff on right now. Got some unassigned divisions that I'll need to go ahead and assign. There's a lot of them there. Oh boy, we're going to have to recall those home and get them assigned somewhere else. We've got some free dockyards. Not a whole lot, though. I feel like for the next war, I'm going to definitely want more of a navy when that time comes. Once we complete Aviation Effort 3, we're going to have to start looking at what's available now. We've got the deflationist program, but that can't happen until after the stock market crashes. So we've got a while before we get to that whole area down there. In the meantime, we'll just deal with the ones that are existing here. And there's not a lot really all that great. Yeah, we haven't signed the Treaty of Versailles, I guess. Alright, so there's not a lot that can be done right now. Get Alsace, I've got that back. So that's not really an issue either. So we might be kind of stuck with very little as far as national focus goes, at least for a little while. I've decided, just like before, I'm going to go ahead and release my African territories. So that was Chad, Burkina Faso. Looks like we've still got quite a bit. I released some of these ones here in the center, but still a little bit of territory controlled that it doesn't appear I'm able to actually release right now. So I guess we'll just kind of have to chill on that for the time being. I think we can also probably slow down on building new divisions. I feel like that's probably unnecessary, at least for the time being. And when I do produce new divisions, I think they're going to be primarily armored divisions moving forward. So we'll go ahead and start queuing up some light armored divisions. I don't even know what all they're made of, so we're going to have to take a look at what they look like May have to do some changes there. Let's take a look at a light armored division. So it's only 8 combat width, and it actually includes infantry, which I really don't want. We'll add some artillery into there. If we do add infantry, it's going to be mechanized or mobilized infantry, which I'm not sure. Oh, we do have motorized infantry. Okay, perfect. So we will add some of that. We're going to add some light tank. We're up to 13. Let's get a little more artillery going. That gives it 16. All right, perfect. All right, that's what we want. That gives us a combat width of 20, that lovely number that we like to have. And then we'll just have to figure out what we'll need to produce in order to make that happen. Man, just not a lot I really need to worry about here. I guess we'll expand the airfields, work on things like that for now. So I'm just looking over who I own territory for and what I might be able to return. And I'm going to return this one little sliver of territory back to Belgium, so they get that little piece back. I'm also looking about what I might do for the Polish, and maybe there's a little bit I can give back to them, because I feel like I'm kind of hogging all the territory, you know, and that there's little pieces I might give back to some folks who maybe weren't necessarily my enemies during the war. So we're going to give Krakow to Poland. So there you have it. There you can have that back. So that means we'll go ahead and pull our forces out. I'm not sure why they're going up into Germany rather than coming back down into French territory, but that gives a little more to Poland. And as I'm looking at things, man, I'm just so hamstrung on what I can do, because I don't know why this happened, why my political power is at negative 7,500. But I have to look and see if there's a code I can enter or something to fix that. If there is, I might go ahead and do that. All right, there was a command for that, and I have fixed it. So now I didn't get greedy. I just set it back to 0. So we'll let it start growing again at 1 per day. So eventually that'll free me up to actually start making some decisions again, which will be really helpful moving forward, especially if I want to think about maybe finishing off Germany altogether, or maybe just looking at other options, or maybe even changing the direction of my own country, which might be something that I choose to do. I'm not sure. We're working down another couple of trees here for air research, and I think, let's see, we want to research formation flying instead of air superiority and all of its, yeah, you know what, I think I do want to go down that route instead. So we're into August of 1919. Really not a lot happening in the world right now. The world tension's still at 100, but it's starting to go down because folks are guaranteeing the Republic of Turkey, which seems like kind of a big deal that's happening right now. I don't know what's going on over in the Soviet Union. Let's take a look at them. Lenin is just kind of working on things. Not a lot going on. Let's see the U.S. Should still be Woodrow Wilson, unless they've gone a different way. It is. All right, so we've got an infrastructure 4, and the reason I picked that one is because the next thing after that is another extra research slot. So that's going to be really helpful, because there's a lot of research I can get caught up on right now. All right, so I'm now able to research 6 things at once, which is phenomenal. Starting to focus a little bit on my Navy, start upgrading those, because that's really one of the few things I haven't upgraded so far. And I'm also thinking about where I'm going to go to war next, because once I've gotten everything fixed and I've got my army replenished, which is going to take a little while yet. You can see here I need massive amounts of a lot of things just to get caught back up. My army was really hurting after that war. I lost a lot of men, certainly lost a lot of materials. Once I get that all on the positive side and I build up nice surpluses of everything, then we'll think about going back to war. And I'm thinking about somebody big. I don't know, the UK, Spain, maybe even Russia, the Soviet Union at some point. But I don't know, Spain seems like a nice kind of harmless, easy target, just sitting there right now with no real friends to speak of. I have a nice, solid, long border that would be easy to attack through. I'm thinking Spain might be the way that I go in my next war, but we'll see. So if Spain is to be the way that I go, then the first thing I want to do is build up my infrastructure in the southwest of France so that it'll have a nice, easy flow of supply through that area. In fact, basically all of France, I'm going to max out my infrastructure just because I've got a ton of factories and really nothing pressing that I need to use them for. So we'll work on infrastructure and then we'll kind of go from there. So as I'm thinking about a possible war with Spain, I realize I have no real airfields down this way, so we're going to definitely need some of those. So we're going to start queuing up some air bases. Let's get some going in Aquitaine. We'll max one out down there. And we'll do the same here in the Pyrenees. It gives me basically enough to be able to launch 2,000 planes from those two areas. And I think we'll go ahead and put one back here a little further back in Limousin. And that should do plenty after we get all of the infrastructure taken care of, which isn't going to take all that long either. Man, not a lot of options here now. I guess we could go down here a little more with the aircraft production for the national focus. Nothing's really happening with world tension, but the world tension's still super high just because of everything that already happened. It hasn't started going back down yet. Oh, we got ourselves a civil war in Portugal. The Portuguese People's Republic versus the Portuguese Republic. And we have a call to arms request from China. Apparently we're getting involved in this war. So, all right. I guess we're involved. So let's take a look and see which side of this civil war we find ourselves on. It looks like everybody's at war against the Portuguese People's Republic, so I don't believe that's going to go particularly well for the communists there. Okay. Well, that escalated quickly, because if we end up in a war with Soviet Russia over this whole thing, we are. And just like that, we're at war with the Soviets, all over some stupid civil war in Portugal. Okay. All right, so I guess our plans for an invasion of Spain are most definitely on a hold. And it looks like the U.S. is going to start a lend-lease with us to kind of take this side of things. So we're going to have to, all right, let's start rushing our divisions east because we're going to go to war with the Soviets right now. So the good news is we've got 4.6 million to his less than 2 million. So it certainly is a very one-sided affair, even with the Soviets involved. So I'm going to go ahead and get reset for this, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so as allies continue to be called to war, what I'm doing is I'm shipping most of my forces, not all, but, well, I shouldn't even say most. Really, it's just about 60 divisions that I'm shipping over to China, and we're gonna land them in China, and we're gonna sit down and get involved in this war over here in the east. So that's where we're going to kind of park things, and we'll see if we can't help turn the tide by pushing in on a place where he doesn't have a lot of divisions. Now, granted, that's a lot of ground to cover, but we're going to move in right there, and we'll see if we can help out. Let's see what's happening. We got volunteers coming from the U.S., so that's pretty cool. We're going to have American divisions under our control. I'm going to continue to work on my Navy. Right now, what we've got is 7.5 million against 2 million in terms of the fielded manpower. But right now, the Chinese are doing most of the fighting. The actual original war that started this, which was a civil war in Portugal, is over. The Communist Party, the Communist rebels in Portugal have been defeated. So at this point, the Soviets are fighting for nothing except themselves. All right, my divisions are in place all the way in the eastern part of Asia. We're marching through and taking back some of the territory that had previously been lost by China. And once I kind of push them back here, I think I'm actually going to leave. I'll leave one of my armies, maybe 17 divisions over here. I'm going to shift the rest over to this side and start pushing in Central Asia while simultaneously waiting for these 20 divisions to complete their plans for a naval invasion. We're going to land at Sevastopol here in Crimea and see if we can't start pushing up into the eastern or the western part of the Soviet Empire that way. Well, we've taken Mongolia out of the war, and we continue to march into the Soviet Union. I can't launch a naval invasion through into Crimea because I don't have rights through the Bosporus and the Dardanelles here. So, unfortunately, can't go through that way to get to the Black Sea. Turkey won't allow it. So we're sending another army group, 51 more divisions over here to the Soviet Union. They'll land, they'll get into position, and they'll really kind of help break the deadlock here. But it's already going pretty well. We're getting some troops kind of encircled, hopefully cut them off soon. Overall, you can see here, fielded manpower on my side is up to 8.45 million versus a dwindling number of fielded manpower on the Soviet side. And I've lost about 90,000 men now, but I've got 3 million in available manpower, so very little that I'm too worried about right now. And my allies, especially the UK and Japan and especially China, are taking the majority of the casualties in this war, so that's actually pretty good for me right now. Well, this is pretty nice. We've isolated a number of Russian divisions behind their lines, and then I'm just going to kind of squeeze in and destroy them all. So we're going to wipe out probably a good 20 Soviet divisions in the next coming days, and then continue to push this line forward. And once I can get up into this area here, then we can start making a push for the things that really matter, especially places like Crimea, Sevastopol, and then eventually up into Moscow and Minsk. Let's see what the numbers look like now. Almost 700,000 losses on his side, about the same number on my side, but the big number here is his fielded manpower, which continues to go down. It's down somewhere around 1.5 million now. I feel like we're getting to the stage where it's just going to be kind of a run on his victory points because he just cannot possibly stop all of these divisions, especially all these Chinese divisions that are coming at him. It just seems like really the only issue will be how fast we can move through some of these areas of Central Asia. All right, so looking at kind of a satellite type view of the situation, you can see now that the territory that we've conquered is actually now larger than what's left for the Soviets, and we continue to push through. My current goal is this line right here, and then I have a second army group that's pushing over this way, and what we can see now is that losses continue to pile up on both sides, but about 1 million on both sides. But his fielded manpower now down to just 1.3 million at the base. It was 1.5. It was higher than that. So it really is just a matter of time and how long it takes. And we're probably going to get into another winter. So we're going to be marching through Siberia in the winter, and that's not exactly ideal, but that'll just slow things down. It won't put a stop to it. All right, happy 1922, and you can see what I'm working on currently with research, mining 3, early artillery upgrade 2, trench mortar 2, oil worker training, armored spearhead, which is on the blitzkrieg tree for land doctrine, and advanced torpedo propulsion for my subs. We also continue to march in from the east on the Soviet Union. We're very soon going to start moving in on the Caucasus, on Yerevan, and you can see some of the big point items are going to start reaching, like Sevastopol, and then eventually make our way to Moscow. Now there is, looks like a British and American invasion attempting to go down near Petrograd. That just hasn't happened yet, but it's kind of in the works right now. All right, well, things have kind of ground to a halt down here just because of a lack of supply. I'm dealing with attrition and just kind of an issue of reorganizing right now. So we might have to change the aggressiveness of our battle plans. And since I don't own any of this territory we've taken, China gets it all, I can't do any construction to kind of lay the groundwork for better supply. So the good news is we're driving through pretty strong right here, and UK and American forces have made some progress over here. They've taken Petrograd, and they're driving down toward Moscow. So I've done all the heavy lifting. Looks like they may get the glory, but that's okay. Either way, this works out. They're down to about 1 million men on that side. It's at 39% in our favor, and the Soviets have lost about half of their points right now. And I've lost about 400,000 men, which honestly is not that bad in a major war against the Soviets. All right, I changed my aggressiveness, and it's paying off dividends, and we're about to isolate a big pocket of Soviet divisions and probably one by one knock those off. In the meantime, driving toward the Caucasus, starting to push this way as well. Let's see what's happening up here. It looks like things are going really well, and probably within a month or two, our Anglo-American friends should have Moscow. Let's see where things stand as we get into April. They're just about, yep, for the first time we saw a number that was under 1 million, so it's right around that right now. Oh yeah, things are looking real good in this war. All right, mid to late April, we destroyed that pocket of Soviet troops. There's one more that's right here that we're about to take out, 5 more divisions. Once we do that, it's really just a race toward Moscow now. And certainly our friends are going to get there first, and that's totally fine. But you can see they're taking large chunks of Soviet territory. Armenia has capitulated. Let's see. That leaves the Soviets with definitely now under 1 million left in the army. And we're still just at about 52% toward capitulation. But this is going to happen quickly. We are about to take a couple of big prizes, and that should just about do this. We're going to kind of avoid this area here because there's really not much to be gained up here. I would say maybe May, maybe June, Moscow falls. All right, it's the 20th of May, or just about, and the British and American forces are on the doorstep of Moscow. I've sent some forces in. We're about to take Crimea, and then we'll start pushing north. And there's a lot of cities along this area here that are going to fall quickly, and we'll see which one is the magic one that pushes that number. Right now we're at 76% toward capitulation. Taking Sevastopol and Moscow are certainly going to drive that number quite a bit here in the next couple of days. We're just going to go ahead and watch this, and once this war's over, I'll go ahead and probably wrap this episode up. I think that'll be plenty for what we've done in this amount of time. All right, they're running into some opposition there now. We've taken Sevastopol. Let's see where that puts. Oh man, that puts it at 89%. Moscow might be enough to get this done, but we'll mop up down here, take a couple of things. Oh, we're way ahead on all this stuff now. There we go. %. Come on, guys, take Moscow. They're right on the doorstep now. Into June. Moscow might be enough to get this done. We got a couple of things we're taking down here, though. Go ahead and zoom out and let you see what's happening. The Soviets don't have a lot of territory left. Wonder if we could restore the monarchy. I wonder if that's what's going to happen here. I guess we'll find out. They may just go to a republic of some kind. Man, they are all over everything. They'll get Smolensk here pretty soon. Everywhere around Moscow, but not in Moscow yet. There it is. All right. Is that going to be enough to get this done? I think it is. There it is. Okay. So we've got the highest score. Looks like China's got something to say about all of this too. But let's go ahead and start zooming out. Boy, I could really use some sources of oil. And there's some great sources of oil down here. So we're going to gobble those up. We'll take Crimea too, just because. No, not quite yet. All right, we'll end our turn there. Oil is what I'm after, but let's look at these spots that have some precious minerals as well. Can always use more of those. I'm really not worried about territory as far as taking things that are connected to other things. I really just want the resources that I can gobble up. And then I'll worry about territory. All right. Beyond that, I'm not sure I really care too much about taking any territory. We'll take Armenia. Okay. So there we have it. Let's go ahead and take a look. The Russian Federation, they got to keep most of their territory, except for a few concessions here and there that we've claimed, some resources. So they are now a democratic government. And here we are. It's June 8th of 1922, and you can kind of see the little various territories that I have in funny little places here and there. It doesn't appear that China really took anything. Doesn't appear that really anybody took anything other than me. So, hey, I'll be the greedy guy. I don't care. Now let's look at where that puts me as far as my trade goes, because I've got a nice amount of everything. I still don't have a lot of oil, but certainly got a lot more than I did before. So we're going to wrap it up right there. That was a lot in 3 years. But now we've got a democratic government in Russia, which basically kind of takes communism out of the equation for the most part. So now maybe we'll start thinking about replenishing the army, getting refit. Maybe in a couple of years we turn our eyes back towards Spain. So that'll be for another episode, though. Please use the comment section below and let me know your thoughts, questions, comments, observations, and hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you again soon. Thanks for watching.